music.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Whether it be your first time or last time, thank you for being here this time. I am AP, I'm your host, and this is Timeouts and Tangents. And what a debilitating end for the World Cup. My experience with soccer has unfortunately come to an end for USA. But um thankful to my guy Zach Nunez. He's bringing me into the fold with Man United. I'll get a kit. I'll watch some games. And we will go from there. So this is a good gateway to get in. Uh, this is a good gateway to get into the sport of soccer for me. And I definitely enjoyed the run while it was good. It's just unfortunate that it ended the way it did. Like we played so bad. We played so bad, you know. But shout out to everybody. No limit. Well, it's errors. So early '90s, no limit. 2000s, cash money. Shout out to Bayou Rat in the chat asking cash money or no limit. If it's '90s, I'm going no. I'm going no limit. Late '90s, early 2000s, I'm going cash money. Because it was nothing like being in seventh grade, listening to Master P's Ghetto Dope on tape, and then going back and getting the CD too before my grandmother and mama really knew what it was. So yeah, no limit for me. That's just a personal thing. Shout out to everybody that's here in the chat early, not late. Oh my God, normal guy was in here first tonight. P. Lee, of course, my guy always grinding, working, never getting a day off. Hamp is in the chat already, and we see it right here. Next World Cup, I hope they bounce back. I mean, we got 4 years, so hopefully, we can do something special. But I wanted to come on tonight because there's been a lot of talk, especially over the weekend, surrounding Lane Kiffin and pressure. And just before we get into the main topic of the show for tonight, and we're not going to be here long. It's 9:15. World Cup just ended. We all got to deal with our emotions. And then tomorrow night we'll have Michael Ford on as a special guest for tomorrow night. But I want to talk about the pressure that LSU and Lane Kiffin are under. But before that, let's get to the news of Jaden Anding announcing his commitment tomorrow at 12:30 on the Rivals show. Of course, Ole Miss fans feel like that they have a chance, and I can understand why, because he delayed his announcement from this weekend up until tomorrow. But do your thing, big dog. If you feel like you got a shot with this, please go ahead and have it. What's going on, Babbitt? Thank you for being here. And like Hamp says, pressure makes diamonds or bust pipes. But we're gonna get to that in a second, Hamp. If Ole Miss is going to do their absolute best to pull Louisiana talent to the state of Mississippi. They've been very unsuccessful thus far. But their entire goal is going to be to try to make LSU and Lane Kiffin look silly. And they think that the secret ingredient to that the recipe to that is Frank Wilson. When that's not the case. LSU recruits itself. And you can see that unfolding right now. Does a plan in place? Does having the funding in place? Does winning help with all of that? Yes. Do I feel better about this staff and the future and the structure that they have for the program as a whole going forward than the previous staff. Yes. One thing I give Lane Kiffin credit for is he came in and what's good, John? Thank you for jumping in, man. He came in and he immediately made his presence felt. Out of the 4 years that Burger King Kelly was our head coach, I never saw him set foot on the campus of 4400 General Myers. If you don't know what school is sitting at 4400 General Myers, then you should Google it. It's a school in Algiers. They wear purple and gold. They have a paw print on the side of their helmets. They produced 3 commitments over the last 3 years to LSU. Teron Manchild Francis, who's now at West Virginia, Aiden Hall, and then Richard Anderson. Kelly ain't never been there. Not to mention, Kelly hasn't been to Brother Martin. Kelly hasn't been to St. Aug. Kelly didn't go to Warren Easton. Kelly didn't go to John Curtis. Kelly didn't go to Jesuit. He didn't go to Holy Cross. He didn't go to McDonough 35. He didn't go to John F. Kennedy. He didn't go to Shaw. I'm starting to wonder if he went to U High. But for the 4 years, what's up, Alex? Thank you for jumping in. And that's right, John. 4400 General Myers is the home of the Edna Clark Cougars. But for the 4 years that Burger King Kelly was here, P. Burger King is wild. That Burger King Kelly was here, he didn't make those appearances. Lane Kiffin wasted no time. The first day he was allowed to travel, he made it a point to travel. He made it a point. He didn't waste any time. And even outside of him being able to travel, he didn't leave that as an excuse. He was putting in work behind the scenes, making phone calls, establishing those channels, having those lines of communication open, making those inroads. And for all the people who were concerned that Frank Wilson's not here, who's going to recruit LSU? Who's going to recruit the state? Who's going to recruit New Orleans? We don't have a way in. What's up, Fonz? Thank you for chiming in, man. Who's going to recruit New Orleans? How are we going to get into the city without Frank Wilson? Frank Wilson has all those connections. Those connections mean a lot. You know what means a lot to these coaches in this city? Providing an opportunity for their kids. That's what means a lot. Giving these kids the chance to grow and have an opportunity to provide for their families and have a future beyond the city of New Orleans. Giving themselves the opportunity to grow, develop, and compete on a national scale to broaden their brand and become better football players and potentially NFL prospects. That's what matters to these kids. That's what matters to these coaches. Because at some point in time, there's going to be a time where Frank Wilson's not there. We went through it. Frank Wilson wasn't here for some of the greatest recruiting classes to ever come across the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana as a whole for LSU. And look, I'm not going to take away from the things that the positives that Frank Wilson was able to do. But let's not sit up here and act like he was the only one. Lane did the ultimate chess move and go and get the guy who can just not just recruit the 504, but can recruit the 337, the 318, the 985, the 225. He can go from DeRitter to Shreveport, from Shreveport to Gulfport, from Gulfport to Grand Isle. Lane did that by bringing in Ed Ogeron. And if you ask me, if I had to have my picks and chooses, I'd rather have Ed O as my recruiting ace than Frank Wilson. And that's for two reasons. Ed's not just going to recruit, he's going to develop your defensive line. And it's hard to find a defensive line coach better than Ed Ogeron. While Frank can recruit, Frank would also have to coach your running backs. We've been down that road several times before. That's not that fun. And you go into it knowing what to expect. And Ole Miss fans haven't learned that yet. But they will. So when people sit up here and say that, oh, we're going to have trouble recruiting, or Frank Wilson's not here, so it could be trouble for LSU and Ole Miss. Where? Trouble for who? You watch Lane Kiffin come into Baton Rouge and come into the state of Louisiana and assemble what will probably go down as one of the greatest transfer portal classes in history. Not only did you watch him assemble the staff, you watched him. Not only did you see him assemble the class, you watched him assemble an elite staff. I love what this staff is doing right now at every level. I can't find something to be concerned about. You're paying them $100 million. And from the looks of it, looks like it's money well spent. John asks, so who was responsible for Big Rich and Hall? Frank? Frank played his portion in it to getting them in the door, but somebody had to close. Fawn says, Saturday night, USA got shut down. What level of soccer we play? Yeah, there is levels to it. And we were able to get to that point, and here we go. Fonz also says, bro, 405 pounds 3 times, bro, Seaton moving weight. And that's what I'm getting to right here, Fonz. Having this staff assembled, and look at what the progress that the players from the portal are making in 7 months worth of time. Seaton completely rechanged his body. Look at the pictures from when he made his visit in January to when he went to suiting up in spring. And now, today, they dropped a video of them going back to work. I quoted it and said, no, this is more like light work. My boy was repping, not maxing, repping 405 pounds on the bench press. 405 pounds. Well over 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. And even the third rep looked like he could have went back and got another one. The improvement by the addition of a guy like Nick Savage is something that you're going to be able to tell in the fourth quarter when they had that swag and that dog and they're just moving people out the way. That's something that we didn't have last year. And I know I'm taking a long road to get to my point, but I want to convey a really broad picture for you because it's every single level that the staff has fleshed out. Last year, the recruiting had some holes in it. The portal, while it was the most expensive portal class of the season by some accounts, it still had a lot of question marks. Patrick Payton was coming in off of can he rekindle what he was as a true freshman? You didn't have an elite edge rusher. You were looking at your offensive line like, do we have enough? And clearly, you missed. The evaluation of the roster was off. The progress in the weight room wasn't there. And while these guys were getting faster, they weren't being developed physically for the war that they had to partake in. And you could tell. That Texas A&M game, it wasn't just that they were better than you. They made you quit. They made you quit. This team, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. They're competing at every single facet of the game. Everyone. From the weight room to the sprint and conditioning to the competition in the classrooms to what's taking place on the field. They are competing. And then once they take their sights off of competing against each other and they start lighting it up against other people, that physicality is going to ratchet it up to another level. So if we can sit up here and see the assessment of a roster that's been assembled over the course of a 4-week time period from a staff that wasn't even fully in place because the offensive staff was still coaching in playoff games while they were recruiting for the portal. What do you think the staff is going to do when it comes to recruiting? And I know there are a lot of people who are making it out, LSU's lost like 6 of the top 10 players from the state of Louisiana. Cool. At this point in the recruitment, they should. And here's the difference in integrity between the transition between two staffs. When Ed Ogeron got fired, he finished out his tenure. And in him finishing out his tenure, he locked down the recruiting class on behalf of Brian Kelly and LSU. He made sure that those players were committed to the school and not to the man. When this staff was coming in here, there were some communication issues. Why do we think a kid like Easton Royal was able to commit the day before Lane Kiffin was announced? LSU was all over Easton Royal. It was in their backyard. Frank loves specialists. Frank loves specialists. He loves skill players. You will identify a safety, a skill athlete, a wide receiver, and a really decent running back out of nowhere. He can identify them. Top-notch linemen, he's going to go after and try to get them to commit if they're within the 504. Tyree Adams, right? Can't think of the young man's name from Easton right now. Slipping my mind, who was committed to LSU but then flipped to Ole Miss. Those types of players, he just doesn't. He's gonna go after those because it's easy. But the skill players, he's all in on. When this staff transitioned, just look at the results of the relationships. They got frayed. It was an issue to sign the deals for Rich and Lamar right at the end. It got a little nervous. Like, what's going on? What happened? I'm not privy to the conversations that took place behind the scenes. But you can see Something happened. And I'm not going to sit up here and make up or insinuate what took place because that's wrong. I'm not going to lead y'all down that path. But look at it for what it's worth. There's something there. But then you look at what happened when Ed Ogeron and the staff that he transitioned over to, and look at that recruiting class. That was a top 10 class, gift wrapped. And then Bill Polian came in and said, "You know what? I'm gonna burn all the bridges that Ed Ogeron kept up for us, and I'm gonna just start recruiting like I'm still at Notre Dame." And then you reset yourself, and then you had to go get Frank Wilson and reestablish some type of that Louisiana connection. Not to mention, you got rid of Corey Raymond, which hurt that. You got rid of Blake Baker, which hurt that. And then you really made it bad because you couldn't keep a defensive line coach to save your life. Brad Davis was just going out, and to his credit, he was recruiting elite guys, but the evaluation was off. You weren't getting guys that could fit the offense. So now you see Lane Kiffin come in here. He's reassessed the situation. He puts himself at the front of it. All the rumors that we heard about him not being able to recruit, throw it out the window. He was the first coach going into those big name buildings. He was. He was the one that was sitting down across from Lamar Brown and Richard Anderson, making sure that they came to LSU, not for him, but for LSU, to fulfill their word for coming for LSU. My hat's bothering my eyes. That's what he was doing. So you give him time, and he's only going to get better. I truly feel like we are standing on the precipice. We're looking at the bricks being laid to build the fence around the state again. And while we may have missed out on some of those recruits early, at this point we should have, because of how the relationships went so late. That should not have happened. That shouldn't have happened. But it did. So here we are. Now he's making up for it in massive ways. And if we miss out on some elite talent, but you flip a guy like Easton Royal, but you get a guy like Easton Royal, that washes all the sins away. And right now, you're also locked in on Jaden Anding, who it's a battle between you and Ole Miss, but everyone's fully expecting LSU to come out on top, and this being his heart. That's how you make a difference. And you set yourself up to be propelled into the 2028 class to truly take those steps forward. Just wait until 2028, 2029 and see how much top talent we're able to retain within the state. I mean, being able to keep the number one running back at home, one of the top two quarterbacks, I say the best quarterback in the state home, and now you're trying to lock down the best wide receiver in the state. Those are three key positions that you need on offense. Yes. That's what you do. That's what you do. So let's do this, man. Let's do it right. Let's do it, and let's do it right. Let's trust what they got going on. Let's let this thing play out. And now, what you're also starting to hear too is that Easton Royal, Jalen Brewster, Jalen Brewster, and Easton Royal. Yeah, they may be making decisions within the next couple weeks. Apparently, it seems like Easton wants to have a decision done by his birthday. Jalen Brewster seems like, we're leaning that way. Yeah. Background commentary. It get funny. So let's get to some of these comments real quick. Fawn says, yeah, Wilson did a lot in the New Orleans area for us, but Kiffin also has gone into the boot to get players. But now you have Oda going to those special areas to speak the same to bring those kids out. Exactly. Like being able to go up into North Louisiana, get back into those places up there, having a good relationship to get into the schools like up in Wichita, like keeping the bridges open up in LCA. Like you want to be able to stay up in Acadiana all the way through that. Alexandria, you got to keep getting players from out of there. Black John says, so okay, so according to some Ole Miss fans, Seton is trash. Well, those I'm not gonna acknowledge that. Like if that's what let them say. They're gonna say everybody trash because they're LSU now. Seton went from sloppy and flabby to yoked in 7 months. Yes. Like who is his trainer? And it was faster than 7 months. He did that in like 3. It was right when they reported for spring. John says, AP, I know it won't happen, but I'll take 1-8 in the SEC if that only win is against Ole Miss fans. I'm sorry, John. I'm gonna tell you right now. I don't want 1-8 ever again. I don't want to live with that. I don't. You didn't. Nope. I wish I could delete that. I don't even want to see that. Fawn says yoked, and he was moving well at Colorado, but now he's slimmer and will have more mobility. The knock against Jordan Seton, and that's why this 400, this why them releasing that video was important, because the knock against him was he wasn't physical in the run game. He couldn't move people around. He was very good, quick, athletic as a left tackle, but he could not really finish the run blocks. Well, if you pushing 405 pounds, brother, you ought to be finishing some stuff. And that goes into what Stephen Young says right here. Physicality dropped off since Moffitt was pushed out. Then he brought it to A&M. And you saw A&M not just have the physicality, like physically on the field, but they had mentally too. Mentally, they were not going to be defeated. Mentally. And that's all part of Tommy Moffitt, man. It really is. And I think that we're getting that back in Nick Savage. You can see it. Just from the videos that they're putting out there, the stuff that they're doing, the heavy lifting, the intensity, like you can feel the intensity. It doesn't just feel like a workout, right? There's a different level of intensity. It's like you're preparing to play football, and that's what we were missing. Ham says, I truly believe Ole Miss is doing poor evaluations, just throwing money at kids. I mean, come on, 4 edges in one class, 3 or 4 D linemen overpaid. Yeah, they're doing what Ed Orgeron did after the 2019 season. They're doing what Les Miles did after the 2012, 2013 season, where you just star chasing. You just want to go after the highest name, highest ranked players just to run up the rankings and say that, oh, I can recruit. And still no 5 stars. Right. Like all that star chasing and still no 5 stars is wicked work. Wicked work. Fawn says in Hamp they have 19 commits, 0 5 stars, averaging 90 points, 358 total points. LSU has 15, average of 93. 2 5 stars should be more, 350 total points, and still have 5 stars waiting to finalize. You flip Brewster and Royal, you can end up having a top 2 class. You flip those two, you end up having a top 2 class. John says, Ole Miss insider Barry already said it's LSU. I'm not sure. I think I'm not sure what you're talking about there, John. Let me know what you're talking about there. Fawn says, tell mom you got work to do. I'm not telling that lady nothing. All right. I like my piece. Ham says, Ole Miss calling Seton trash. Who even are their tackles this season? Exactly. John says, I don't think Lane Wofford would have insisted on him to protect the blind side of the QB if he was trash. How about that he's the number 1 or number 2 left tackle going into the draft next season? That says it all. Like that's not trash. That's not trash. Thank you, Kendrick. Talking about Andy. Thank you, Kendrick. Ole Miss insider said it's LSU. Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised. Surprise. Company at 9:45 on a weeknight. No, it's called DoorDash, brother. All right. And it's not for me either. So uh getting getting to this though, I'm glad that we can transition like this. If we flip Royal, does that put a damper on sales? Yes. You're not going after both. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't go after both. It goes back to what Lane said about paying for your receiver. Most of us have the CFB 27 game. When you look at NIL, right, you got to fragment it off by your position groups. You can go all in for one top notch receiver if you don't have a lot of money, right? But how about you spread that over instead of going after the 1 5 star that wants 135 NIL points to start, go after 4 4 stars that want 60. Because that 135 for the 5 stars is going to get bumped up. You're going to negotiate with other teams, so you're going to have to add more. If I'm going after 4 4 stars at 60, at 80, or between 80 a pop, I'm 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 spending a little bit better. Well, not four, but two 4 stars at 80 a pop. I'm spending a little bit better. I'm getting more quality. I'm getting more for the athlete. But if we get Royal, you're either getting Royal or sales. You're not getting both. And sales is not the priority. Eastern Royal means more to LSU than he could ever mean to Texas. And here's why. You have to keep Eastern Royal home as your first class because he is the best player, not just in the state. He's the best athlete in this class, and it's not even close. He is literally 60 miles, 60 minutes, a 60-minute drive from your campus. You cannot let the school from Austin, Texas, whether they got his commitment before you were announced or not, walk in here and think that they are confident enough to take your best player. It is exactly what Colin Simmons meant to Texas. You cannot let Eastern Royal leave just like Texas could not let Colin Simmons leave. Can't do it. You cannot do it. Cannot do it. So if the question is, do we get sales or Royal? You want Royal. You want Royal for not just because he is that dude. And to me, he's better than Monsoon Sales. The one thing that Eastern Royal does not have that Monsoon does is Monsoon is 6'5". Eastern Royal is 5'11", 200 pounds, and runs a 4.240. What is he missing? Height. He's missing 5 inches. Okay, cool. I don't care about that because he can go up and get the ball as if though he is 6'5". That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. You keep him. You go get him. So it. So now you got everybody talking about, especially national talking heads. Lane popped out on Twitter literally one day on June 18th, posted that picture of the tiger and the sign, and then he dipped back out. Like the avatar. He's gone. Out of here. Cool. Great. Fantastic. But now you got national media and Urban Meyer of all people making comments that Lane Kiffin is under pressure. It's like he's sitting on a 90 million hot seat. Lane does not have pressure. LSU is pressure. That's what comes with being the head coach at this university. John says for Jaden Anding, I believe is Zach Barry. Yeah, we're talking. Yeah, you Kendrick, let me know what you were talking about, man. Fawn says, speaking of telling mama something, I'm trying to build up the courage to ask mine if I can get get the new NCAA since it's being released on PC earlier. You gotta ask for forgiveness. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, my wife spoils me. So if I ask for something, I'm gonna get it. I asked her for a chain this morning. I asked her for a new chain. And she told me we'll figure it out. So my wife spoils me. I have the best wife on the planet. It's very rare that this woman ever tells me no. So or gets mad at me. You know what my wife gets mad at me for not spending enough time with her. Like if she feels as though I'm neglecting her. So that's why, like, if I don't do a stream one night, I'm giving that woman what she wants. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. She keep my family running. Black asks, so do you think Sales Royal can both commit to Texas? No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know if Sales wants to either. That's another question. Does Sales want to be in the same boat as Eastern Royal? Because look, when it comes to Sales, Ohio State is pushing hard for his commitment. Texas is pushing hard for his commitment. Yes, they have Eastern Royal committed, but how sure are they really that he's going to stick? I wouldn't be surprised if Eastern flips and then like a few moments later, Sales commits to Texas. Yeah, urban liar. I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. Pills, let's go. AP and Fawn says, I need to use the pity play. I just cut my nuts for it. Yeah, exactly. Hey, I did this, it's only right. It's only right. John says, if I'm Verge, I'm denying all media requests for Lane. Fawn says, well, I need to finish our seating area with the fire pit and use that. Yeah, yeah, that's a good play too. You gotta have two things to balance out. Indiana's pushing hard for Sales because once again, Sales is to Indiana what Eastern Royal is to LSU. Indiana is just experiencing what it feels like to be a national powerhouse in football. How can you win a national championship and then let the best prospect in the state for the last 15 years come down south of all places, not even leave Indiana, but leave the north, right? No, they don't want that to happen. They don't want that to happen. I mean, you think that they definitely want to see him line up for Ohio State? Hell no. They don't want that either. They damn sure don't want that. So I'm not overly concerned or sweating out the Sales commitment. And to be honest with you, I'm not worried about the wide receiver position when it comes to Lane Kiffin. If this is Brian Kelly, Joe Sloan, yes, right? Like, you don't know what kind of offense that you're running. We're talking about Lane Kiffin. Dude had Derrick Henry. Dude had Reggie Bush, Lindell White. Dude made Matt Corral an NFL draft pick. What are we talking about? Remember, 29th was the lowest his offense has ever been ranked, and they still averaged almost 450 yards a game. You think I'm concerned about a wide receiver position? No. Like I've always told y'all, too, when it comes to this specifically, you want the linemen, you want the trenches more than you want the wide receivers. That's where games are really won and lost. But me personally, I'm biased, and I can tell you I'm biased. I graduated from Brother Martin. I've watched Eastern Royal play. Went to LSU. Who do you think I want LSU to get more? Eastern Royal or Jalen Brewster? Yes, I want Eastern Royal because that's my alumni. That's my alumni. But if I take my Brother Martin hat off, if I put myself instead of being from New Orleans and put myself from northeast corner of Louisiana, but at northwest corner of Louisiana, I'm screaming we want the kid from Texas to come down to Baton Rouge. Because if you dominate the line of scrimmage, you're dominating the game. That's what makes the difference. So I'm not worried about the wide receiver position. Fonz says everything relies on the O-line this year. For sure. Definitely. And the D-line, too. You got to get pressure from the edges. You have to. You didn't have it last year. Yes, games are won on the line of scrimmage, says John. Yes. Yes, they are. So when we look at what LSU is establishing right now, and you see these headlines, and you see Urban Meyer taking a dig at us, at LSU fans, these nut job ass LSU fans are going to put the pressure of winning a national championship on Lane Kiffin. No, Urban. Weren't you the one who bowed out of college football because of a heart condition? What was it? You couldn't handle the pressure? Was it the pressure of winning or the pressure of constant cover-ups? I'm not sure which pressure it was that you were running away from. But that's neither here nor there. You no longer coach. And I never sat in the seat that Urban Meyer sat in, and I never will. I never want to. But I can tell you this. Lane Kiffin isn't under any pressure that he's not ever going to feel. Because being the coach at LSU is already pressure because LSU is pressure. LSU has a standard that it holds itself to be nationally relevant and competing for championships. The standard isn't to win one every year. If Brian Kelly would have made the playoff every single season he would have been here, Brian Kelly would have still been the head coach at LSU. You know how I know we had a Brian Kelly? His name was Les Miles. Les Miles didn't want to throw a forward pass, but he kept finding a way to win games. And guess what? It wasn't until he was forced out that he was no longer here. And he's the most winning head coach at LSU. So, no, it's not pressure to win a national championship. Stevie Young with the epic chat. Epic comment in the chat there, Stevie Young. Touche, sir. Touche. Urban Meyer stuck his finger in my booty. That's one of the funniest videos ever. One of the funniest videos ever. Fawn says, "You're damn right we nut jobs." Ham says, "Same guy who cheated on his wife and covered up his abusive assistant coach." Exactly. Only thing he handling was the pushback from that co-ed at the bar. Also, in 211 in the NFL, talk about pressure bursting pipes. Right. So when you look at pressure, pressure is going to do one or two things. It's going to make a diamond or it's going to break you. But being the head coach at LSU isn't about being under pressure. It's about managing the pressure. Because you're the head coach at LSU, you are pressure. Now, can you take the pressure that you have, what that comes with this job, and make everybody else feel it? That's what Ed was able to do in 2019. That's what Les Miles was able to do during his tenure. That's what Nick Saban was able to create. Because if you don't do that, then the pressure falls onto your shoulders. But Lane Kiffin right now is not under any pressure. He just got in the door. No reasonable fan should be expecting this team to win in year one, to win it all. Let me say that. No reasonable fan should be expecting Lane Kiffin and all of these new pieces to be playing in Las Vegas for the national championship in January of 2027. Now, I fully expect this team to be competing for a playoff spot and in the final 12. That's reasonable, considering the fact that you went all in on this roster. $40 million, but there are some things that come out of your control. You can't control health. That's part of playing the game. You are thin at certain positions. DB, D-line. What does the experience behind your offensive line look like? That can be a problem. It's out of your hands, too, because there's no free agency that you can go get. Your roster is what your roster is. But if everything is the same and this team stays relatively healthy throughout, 10-2, that's the worst it should be. And 10-2 with that schedule is going to get you into a playoff spot. Hands down. So for everybody that's outside of the state of Louisiana, that's constantly talking about LSU. Remember, we talked about this on Friday. Everybody wants to talk about LSU, especially the people who have nothing to do with LSU. Why? Because it gets traffic. The brand is the brand, man. It brings in attention. And right now we are in an attention-seeking business. Everybody wants eyes. Brian asked a great question in the chat. Is John Summerall under any pressure? You would think he would be, given the fact that they've been irrelevant for the last, 15 years. They've had, 2 good seasons? I wish my boy Nick was in the chat. He'd be able to tell me the last time he was able to smile on a Saturday for multiple weeks in a row. Ham says, anyone see the Amir Orr Khan news? I did not. Hopefully he's coming to Baton Rouge. John says, what are these national talking heads going to say when Lane creates what Nick didn't? I'm guessing what you mean by that, John, is when Lane creates the dynasty that Nick didn't see come to fruition at LSU. They're going to find another way to knock him. It's what they do. It's fine. They try to put a blemish on 2019 so much. Every single national championship team gets compared to 2019 LSU. And you have national media talking heads talking about how this team was better than the 2019 LSU team. Who was it? Ohio State last year with 2 losses. This Ohio State team is the best team to ever play in the playoffs and win a national championship because they did it while going through a 12-team playoff. Yeah, they lost 2 regular season games. I don't want to hear that. You can make the argument that they were better than the 2-loss LSU team that had to go through the BCS and beat the eventual number 1 Ohio State Buckeye team. Make that case. But the 2019 LSU team that never lost a game? No, I don't want to hear it. This year was Indiana. LSU beats Indiana by 30. Light work. Like, they're always going to have something negative to say about LSU. The only time that they're going to have anything to say positive is during the season when LSU starts winning. Let LSU opens up against Clemson and blow the doors completely off of the Tigers from Baby Death Valley. And it's going to be, oh my God, Lane did it. Lane did it. Lane did something great. Oh my God, he beat Clemson. Not only did he beat, he blew them out the way. And then as the season goes on, they're going to nitpick things. Well, their defense is this, their offense is that. It's not that good. Let LSU go 10-2, make it into the playoff, and then lose. We knew this team wasn't that good. We knew this team wasn't that good. They were just riding this way. Whatever excuse is going to be, they're always going to. Why? Why they're going to blow it up out of proportion? Because LSU drives attention. LSU is either hated by many or loved by few. What's funny is that the fan base isn't just restricted to the state of Louisiana. It's spread worldwide. Shout out to Carter. Carter talked about that in his show last night, how he was meeting LSU fans from Australia. And it makes sense why there are LSU fans in Australia. LSU featured the best basketball player to come out of Australia in Ben Simmons. You featured a punter in Brad Wing. You have legitimate connections to the other side of the world for players who made a difference, who had an impact. So let them say it. They got to pay bills too, I guess. Jay says no one wants to talk about Lane Kiffin breaking the NFL barrier by becoming the youngest head coach at the time. It wasn't even heard of. Granted, he was still immature for it. Nevertheless, he did it first. And that's an accomplishment within itself. Nobody gives Lane credit for what he did in the NFL. Nobody gives him credit for what he had to deal with in the NFL. Like, you could tell Jamarcus was not his pick. He didn't want to pick Jamarcus Russell. Not only that, to be able to go to Tennessee, turn that team around in one season, leave it after turning it around in one season, and then go to USC and then turn that around with the restrictions that school had to deal with, that was great coaching. That was great coaching. And you know what's funny? Most of the guys, Lane Kiffin's got this staff. James Craig was on that staff with Lane Kiffin through all of that. Oakland, Tennessee, and USC. When Lane Kiffin lost the USC job and had to go to Alabama as an offensive coordinator, that's when LSU got James Craig. And guess who's reunited? James Craig and LSU. That's a smart coach. That's a smart coach. Ham says, rest assured, Lane wants to win just as much as we do. Likely even more. Yes, Lane wants to prove people wrong. Don't take this for granted. He's a national championship winning coach. Alabama team that won a national championship, Lane was offensive coordinator for that team. He got a ring for that. He's assembled elite teams. We saw him build the Ole Miss team, make the plays and the necessary changes to the rosters throughout the season to get that team to where it was. It finished 11-1. And in the playoff. for a season where the team shouldn't have been that good. But yet he's always being knocked. They only think about him as just being this offensive whiz kid. Lane Kiffin is a well-rounded coach. And the moment he can break through and get a ring on his finger as a head coach, then I think you're going to see an obsessive side of him do it again. Because he's not just a coach that just wants to have success. He's a coach that wants to have repeated success. Look at the patterns in which he calls his offenses. If he finds a play that works or a way to break a defense, he's going to attack it from the same way, just different looks. Repeated success. Once he finds his way to do that, and if he does that at LSU, you better watch the hell out. Steve Young says Florida would be the program to not give Summerall time. They're notorious for it. I don't think Florida is going to need time. I love John Summerall. I think Florida's gonna be pretty decent this year. I think they're gonna be an improvement from last year what they were with Sunbelt Billy. Fawn says, and the funding, they are big on that as well. Same with FSU. FSU is I don't know what to say about Florida State. First of all, I'm shocked that Mike Norvell made it to another season. Oh, that's coming in hot. John says, I think Florida beats Ole Miss. What week is that game? Holy hell. What week is that game? That's September 26th. That's the week after LSU. That's the Texas A&M week. If LSU beats Ole Miss, you can see that wave of emotion. They like us have to split that 2 weeks. They have to split. They can't lose both. But I don't know if they'll be able to see that through because of the coaching. I don't know that they'll be able to see that through. Fawn said they said Indiana this year was the same as 2019. Indiana will whip 2019. LSU was a talk this year. Exactly, y'all. Y'all know it. Funny, they weren't comparing their best seasons to the 95 Nebraska or 01 Miami. Right, like they go straight to LSU because they know LSU was the greatest team of all time. Nobody's debating that anymore. So now LSU's a standard, but they got to try to find a way to knock it down. And even when they knock it down, it's still like, we're starting off with LSU. I've heard this before where they say we're starting off with LSU, but they're not as good as the 01 Miami team. LSU would slide that team by 30. Last year, Ohio State wasn't even close to as good as the 2007 LSU team. No, they weren't. You're wrong, AP. The talk is going to be, Clemson wasn't that good when we beat them. Yes, exactly. Bayou Rant says, a lot of LSU fans in Mobile. Look, LSU fans are everywhere. I talked to Juju McDonald. Juju McDonald's from Mobile. His dad and his grandfather. Huge LSU fans living in Mobile. And they got, Mobile has that Louisiana connection because we took Mardi Gras and did it better than them. So, it's only right. It's only right. Alex says, just like Coach Jay Johnson, addicted to greatness and winning championships and work 10 times harder when the goal comes up short. Exactly. Ole Miss gonna start 1-3. I love it, Hamp. Who's the one win, Hamp? That's what I want to know. Who's the one win in the first 4 games? Let me pull up their schedule. So we know they open up with Louisville. Are we saying that they beat Charlotte? that's the win? That's the one win, Charlotte? D Will, what up, my man? Thank you, Anatonic. I appreciate you for being here. John Black, bookmark that. That's a the hot take dark host. Bro, I'm telling people who will upset Ole Miss. Look, Jay, I keep saying I'm not ready to say that they're going to upset them. I'm not ready to say that yet. I'm not. But what I am ready to say is I'm not shocked if they do. I will not be shocked if Louisville walks into Vaught and walks out on top. Jeff Brom is a better coach than Pete Golding. Jeff Brom with this Ole Miss team is contending for a national championship. But I don't know if Jeff Brom has enough on Louisville staff to hold up for a full 4 quarters with a fresh Kejuan Lacey. The thing that can hold Kejuan Lacey back, we all know it, Frank Wilson. We know that. Ham says their week 2 cupcake game versus Iowa Southern Tech. Ham, they might if there's any such thing as karma, right? Louisville got 2 dogs at running back. Exactly, but I just don't know if they have enough, though. Like, they got players, but do they have enough? That's what I'm questioning. Like, Kejuan Lacey is that guy, y'all. Like, he is a dog. That's the first game of the season. He's going to be fresh. John says Ole Miss has to go to the Swamp. Only thing, it's a flex game, either 2:30 or 7 p.m. start time. I want them to have to experience the Swamp at night. I do too. If Florida's got to come out swinging though, so if they got one loss by that time that game comes around, and they'll know the week before. They'll know the LSU game if it's going to be a 7 o'clock kicker now. So I hope so too. Louisville going to give them all they want for sure. Oh yeah, Louisville's going to drag them into deep water and find out if they can swim. For sure. The question is, will Louisville have a good defense? See, that's exactly what I'm getting to, D-Will. I'm not concerned. I think Jeff Brom is going to go toe-to-toe, band for band, bar for bar with Ole Miss's offense. Truly believe that. But can their defense hold up enough? They just need a couple of stops. Pete Golding is going to give up points. We know this. We know it. We know it. We absolutely know it. So, look, let the pressure be what the pressure is going to be. I don't care. Let them talk about it. I don't care. We're here for it. John says Louisville going to find out if they're Sharks or Brown Bears. I don't even know why they have these different mascots. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Rebel Black Bears, Land Sharks, Colonel Reb. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Well, look, I want to share with you guys. Y'all see the pinned comment in the chat. Y'all see the pinned comment on the chat. I have signed with, been blessed with an opportunity to host a podcast with Charles the Great Alexander. Charles Alexander the Great, the Hall of Fame running back from our LSU Tigers, whose name is in Tiger Stadium. And it is on the Believe podcast. Love me. Link. I'll take you directly to Apple Podcasts. You can download, like, and share. Please. Because this is going to be a bunch of fun. And it's not stopping anything that we're doing over here, right? Time entertainment is always going to be here. But this is an opportunity to further to provide more content and get me to learn from and work with one of the best players to ever set foot on campus at LSU. A guy who helped break more barriers than we could ever forget. Like, Charles is a fantastic dude. And I'm telling y'all now, we're going to have some amazing guests on this podcast. We're coming out the gate swinging. So the feed is live now. I dropped a promotional trailer for the intro pod, and we will, myself and Charles will be getting together later on this week to record our first full-fledged episode. So, like I always say, all the content is contenting. I will have, of course, my pre and post games with Charles following the show. Well, my pregame will be before the show. With Charles, we'll have an episode for pre-games, and then I'll have an immediate post-game reaction right after the game is done, uploaded for that. And then, of course, we'll come in and do our show here for Timeouts and Tangents. Another thing I want to tell y'all, too, we're going to start, and I'm going to try to do this Friday. We're going to do a little call-in segment where I'm going to let you guys join into the studio. You don't have to show your face or anything, but we can have that dialogue. You can add your voice in, and we can just talk things out, ask questions, bounce things off, and just make it an interactive show. And that's part of what we're going to do during the post game too, during the season, where I want you guys to have a vocal part in reacting to the games afterwards. So just want to do things a little bit different and try to branch things out for everybody. Since the chat has been on fire, I want you guys to feel like you're a part of it. This is a family, man, and we're going to keep growing this thing. So when we talk about growth, please make sure you like and share and hit the subscribe button. We're going to keep pushing forward. Thank you for all the congratulations. Hamp says, can't forget the Colonels. I don't understand all of these mascots that they have. John, congrats. Alex, congrats. Fonz, it's awesome. Congrats. And D-Will, congrats. Thank you all. Like, this wouldn't be possible without y'all. I talked to my mentor, my girl Tina, today, and she was like, are you crazy? Like, when are you gonna sleep? And I told her, I said, when I'm dead. I got goals to accomplish. Plain and simple. So this is only the beginning. I mean, it's kind of funny that all this is tied into the same timeline as Lane coming on campus at LSU. I find that funny for myself. But I started this thing and not knowing where it was going, and I'm so grateful to where this journey is taking me. But this is not the end. This is legitimately not even really the beginning. This is just an opportunity. I've been able to knock on some doors, right? I've been able to turn some heads to say, oh, look at that guy over there. Now it's time to start opening some doors. Like I tell everybody who's around me, I'm not just opening doors for myself. I'm going to break through so I can bring as many people along with me as possible. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And one thing I have learned too is throughout all of this, everybody is not meant to come along with you. Some people are not going to like your success. I don't know why. But that's okay. Let people remove themselves from around you. You just keep moving forward. Don't waste time looking back for the people who left you as you kept growing. I almost made that mistake a couple of times. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. We got a troll in the chat. My boy Jarvis Cole says, "Thank you for being here, man. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe." Look, a little Alabama fan in here. I'm glad you're in here, Jarvis. I want to ask you, how are you feeling about your Crimson Tide team right now? Keelan Russell, is he gonna be the guy to pull the trigger? What's the offensive line looking like? Can Ryan Williams catch a cold, COVID, or a football? What are we doing? Does he have himself um does he have himself together right now? Like, tell me about Alabama. I want to know, man, because I'm gonna start digging into some SEC teams here in the next couple days. I want to know how Alabama feels right now because I'm not gonna lie, I'm an Alabama fan. I'm nervous, and I'm not putting that other message up there because we don't say those words here. My guy Jerry 31831 great in the building. He says Urban Mayonnaise Myers mad at LSU because we took what he had. Burrow, and Burrow was elite. He put him on a shelf. We put him in the bright LSU lights. Stars shine at LSU. Fantastic point, Jerry. Fantastic point, man. Hell of a point. Missed out on greatness with Joey B. LSU took something that you threw to the wayside and made him a soon-to-be college football Hall of Famer and hopefully a Super Bowl champion. John says, "Hey, brother, just remember you got to crawl before you walk. Always believe in yourself." Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. And that's exactly what I'm doing. John says also 1.4K viewers. Make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Please, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, we're up to 1.4 on Twitter right now, like 16 total throughout all platforms. Please hit the like, share, subscribe. Please, 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 please. My guy Jarvis says Bama gonna be great this year. Improved run game. They made a couple good hires to help O-line and tight ends. 11-1 regular season. Okay, so if you think that they're gonna go 11-1, who's the one loss to? Who do you think is the team that's better than your team right now? Stephen Young says, is their recruiting class in the top 40 yet? No, they're still battling Wake Forest for some recruits. I want to know who you think the one loss record is going to go to. Like who? Who? You say improved running game? I didn't know y'all had a new offensive line. It's kind of rough out there, but I'm improved. John says Auburn beats Bama. I'm not gonna lie, I can see it this year. Not better, but janky. You think Tennessee could? Come on, man. Tennessee with George McIntyre? You think I don't need look? I'm not gonna sit up here in front. I know I'm not a Bama fan, but let's be realistic. I don't see Tennessee being that good this year. I think Josh Heupel's going to end up on a hot seat. They have no experience at quarterback. At least Keelan Russell got some valuable game snaps. Like Tennessee, and then he says or Uga. I think that's the loss. One of many. Tennessee at home is a janky place to play, bro. They're not good. Just no. Look, I get it. It's like when LSU goes to Auburn. LSU playing Auburn at night. It's weird. It's drunk. It's tough. But I think maybe y'all in Tennessee are about 1-1. That's gonna be a good game. That's gonna be a good game. Yeah, Bama definitely has to come to Death Valley this year, and it's gonna be a get back game. This team is different. I don't see Kalen DeBoer. I don't see Kalen DeBoer going 11-1 at any point in his tenure at Bama. You saying Tennessee might beat Bama means Bama's defense will not be that good. Exactly. Because Tennessee is not. It's not it. Death Valley is our house. I'm not going to argue with you. Nick Saban had LSU's number. Nick Saban did. And Kalen DeBoer had Brian Kelly's number for the 2 times that they played. It's sad to say. Okay, Jarvis. Now you're going a little bit far. You just went from 11-1 to undefeated. Come on, let's be reasonable. You got to be a reasonable fan, man. Have faith, support your team. Undefeated Natty in 27. How about make it to the SEC championship game? That's not happening. Saban's house, but not anymore. Exactly. Was here. Exactly. We have a new landlord at Death Valley. It's under new management. And it's funny, the old manager handed the keys off to the new manager. Remember, Saban legitimately owned Death Valley both ways. Right? He reestablished it. Then he legitimately passed the torch. Because while he was at Alabama, he held on to it. Then he passed the torch to Lane Kiffin. He didn't pass the torch to Kalen DeBoer. So, thank you, Jarvis, for the coach that we helped create, going to your school and becoming the GOAT, and then for him to come back and return the favor to us. While y'all give Kalen DeBoer, however you say his name, an extension that was unwarranted. Watch Alabama lose to Florida State again. Talk about sweet, sweet, sweet victory. Oh, that would be amazing. This defense is going to wreck the world. Even BK made Atlanta. Jarvis, I'm starting to feel like you're a young kid. You went from 11-1 to undefeated to now you're going to have the best defense in the world. Once again, thank you for being here. Do me a favor, Jarvis. Like and subscribe. You're always welcome. Not going to ever run away any type of college football fan. Like, you're welcome to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here tonight. You fantastic, brother. AP, they were shitting a brick when Nick Saban name was mentioned for that. Boy, what? They didn't want that. They did not want that. They did not want that. Nick made sure Kiffin got the head coach job in Florida because Ed was about to hire him as OC. Nick couldn't have that. Exactly. Nick aligned so many different things. He held back LSU twice. Because if Kiffin would have been the OC for Ed, Kiffin would have replaced Ed as a coach, and then we would have skipped the Brian Kelly era. We'd have skipped it. Don't forget, Savannah said LSU is the best job in America. Saban. I was about to say, yeah, Saban. Saban said that. Fawn says the only thing Bummer's defense is going to wreck is the Boers' chance at being at Bummer for long. Yeah, they're gonna wreck the world. All right. He's not lying. They're going to wreck the world, the Crimson Tide world, because that defense is not going to be that good. I don't see how this Alabama team is better than last year's team. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't see it yet. I got to see it play out. And at this point, I really don't trust Kalen DeBoer. When I look at the coaches in the SEC, he mid. John says that's a fact. He called Sexton and told him make sure he doesn't go to LSU. Jarvis says, I can't wait to play you bums at home and whoop that candy ass again. Okay. Look, just make sure that you show up. Just make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button, Jarvis. Like I said, you're always welcome. Look, we're going to wrap it up, guys. An hour and 20. I didn't mean Didn't mean to go there. A bunch of transfer. Yes. Yes. This the thing that you couldn't get. You couldn't get any transfers. Lane Kiffin kept shoving Alabama in a locker. First Saban shoved Alabama in a locker. How about that? Because it was crying that, oh, Kiffin is going to come to Tuscaloosa once we fire Kalen DeBoer if he loses the playoff game. He lost. And it was, oh, Kalen might leave to go to Michigan. You had the fan base split. Let him go. So we can get Lane Kiffin. Let Lane Kiffin leave LSU, which was not going to happen. And then you had some saying, well, no, we wouldn't have anybody hired. Don't let him go. And then the administration panicked and gave him an extension. That was real smart, my guy. That was real smart. Real smart. Y'all are real smart. Look, you don't have to subscribe. Just come back. The engagement helps either way. Honestly, this is better than you subscribing. It puts us in the algorithm. You're teaching the algorithm that you like the stream. Thank you. So, anyway, I know you want to be delusional. We got what you wanted. We got the transfers. We got the coach. We got the swag. LSU's got the headlines. Crazy to think, Alabama made it to the playoffs and nobody's even thinking about them. The only time they get mentioned is when a recruit picks them over Wake Forest. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all for being here so much. It's been a fantastic show. Y'all know how we end every show, man. I challenge y'all to be kind. Challenge y'all to be the difference. This world is crazy. Jarvis, thank you for being here, man. I really do appreciate you engaging. And hope the best for you, not for Alabama. But if you want to see the difference in the world, be the difference. Best way to be that difference is to be kind. Kindness is free, man. Spread it. Cost you absolutely nothing to be kind. Hold the door open for somebody, smile, say good morning, say good evening, say hello. That's it. That's all it takes. You want to show God's love? Best way to make an invisible God visible is by being kind to one another. That's all it takes. Your smile, your good morning, your hello, your good evening can literally change and save someone's life. Look, thank you all for being here. John says Lane isn't going to Bammer. Think about it. He would have to recruit against another SEC school at Bama. Same problem he had at the school in Oxford. Yeah, and that's why it's not the best job in the country. Plain and simple. Thank y'all so much for being here tonight. Remember, tomorrow night, Michael Ford, LSU legendary running back, will be joining us live here, 8:15 p.m. Be on time. You're not going to want to miss it. Love y'all so much, and to my beautiful wife. Love you, baby. Thank you for everything that you do. Have a good night. Later. Go.